Some say chess is just a game, a mere distraction. But for Sophia Jordan, these 64 squares represented a battlefield where every move carried consequence, where strategy trumped brute force, where the queen was the most powerful piece on the board. In the crowded hallway of Fairfield High, Sophia's slender fingers arranged the chess pieces with deliberate precision. Around her stood 5 students, the Whitman clique, led by Brielle Whitman, tall, blonde, radiating privilege and barely contained hostility. Other students watched from a distance, their faces a mixture of curiosity and concern. "What do you think you're doing, Jordan? This isn't chess club. This is our spot," Brielle sneered. Sophia didn't look up, continuing to set up her board methodically, each piece finding its precise position with satisfying clicks against the board. "I know exactly where I am, Brielle," Sophia replied, her voice calm but lined with steel. Brielle glanced at her friends, thrown off by Sophia's composure. She reached for a chess piece, the black queen. In a flash, Sophia's hand caught her wrist, not aggressively, but firmly. The hallway fell silent. "I wouldn't do that if I were you," Sophia said, finally looking up, her gaze direct and unwavering. The tension was palpable. Students had stopped to watch. Sophia's expression showed no fear, only certainty. Brielle was visibly unsettled by this unexpected resistance, her usual confidence cracking ever so slightly. They had underestimated her from day one, a mistake they would soon regret. "We'd love to know where you're watching from. Drop a comment below with your city or country. It's amazing to see our community tuning in from all over the world." Now, let's go back to where this all began. 3 months earlier, Chicago's South Side, the only home Sophia had ever known. A community where she belonged, where her brilliance had room to flourish among teachers who believed in her and friends who understood her journey. In their vibrant apartment filled with colorful art, books, and photos, with African textiles adorning the walls alongside academic certificates, Sophia sat cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by boxes. She carefully wrapped a chess set, while lively music and voices from the neighborhood filtered through open windows. Diana Jordan, elegant despite her exhaustion, entered wearing hospital scrubs. Despite her weariness, she radiated warmth and strength. "Baby, have you finished packing your room?" Diana asked. "Almost, Mom," Sophia replied, reluctance evident in her voice. "Just saying goodbye to some things." Diana sat beside her daughter, noticing her melancholy. She gently took the chess piece from Sophia's hand. "A queen. Your father would be so proud of you. Almost as proud as I am. He'd want us to stay here, where we have people, where we fit." Diana sighed. "This promotion is a chance for us, Sophia. Fairfield has one of the best high schools in the state, and we'll have Nana nearby. A whole hour away is nearby now. More nearby than Chicago to Birmingham." Diana responded with patient humor. Sophia nodded reluctantly, gently taking back the chess piece and wrapping it. The move wasn't a choice, not really. Not when Westbrook Memorial Hospital offered her mother the administrative position she'd worked toward for a decade. Not when the salary meant college wouldn't be a financial nightmare. Not when it meant a chance to breathe away from the violence that had taken Sophia's father 5 years earlier. But Fairfield, Illinois was a different world. A suburb where black families made up less than 10% of the population. Where money spoke louder than merit. Where fitting in often meant fading away. Fairfield High prided itself on excellence, on tradition, on preparing the children of privilege for futures of the same. Sophia had earned her place academically, but belonging would be another matter entirely. On her first day, Sophia stood at the entrance, wearing a carefully chosen outfit, stylish but not showy. Her box braids were immaculate, her posture straight, but her eyes betrayed her nervousness. As she walked through the halls, the reactions were subtle but unmistakable. Double takes, whispers, evaluating glances. Not necessarily hostile, but noticing her difference. In advanced placement history class, Sophia sat alone in the front row. The teacher, Mr. Bennett, a white man in his 50s wearing a bow tie, addressed the class. "We have a new student joining us from Chicago. Ms. Jordan, would you like to introduce yourself?" The class turned to look at her. Among them, Brielle Whitman surveyed Sophia with cool assessment. Beside her sat her friends, Tyler, Megan, Kate, and Wesley, all exuding the same aura of entitled privilege. Sophia stood, confident despite her nerves. "My name is Sophia Jordan. I just moved here from Chicago. I'm interested in history, especially how untold stories shape our understanding of the past." A beat of awkward silence followed. "Yes, well, welcome to Fairfield," Mr. Bennett responded. "We'll try to accommodate your previous educational background. If you find yourself struggling to keep up with our accelerated curriculum, don't hesitate to seek tutoring." Subtle laughs emerged from some students. Brielle smirked. "Thank you, sir," Sophia replied politely but firmly. "But I was in the top 2% of my class in Chicago. I'm sure I'll manage." The smirks faded slightly. Mr. Bennett raised an eyebrow before continuing with his lesson on the American Revolution, a sanitized version that glossed over the contradictions of fighting for freedom while maintaining slavery. When Sophia raised her hand to mention Crispus Attucks and black soldiers, the teacher nodded impatiently and moved on without discussion. Message received. Certain perspectives weren't welcome here. By lunchtime, the isolation was palpable. The cafeteria operated like a well-choreographed dance where everyone knew their place, except Sophia. She sat alone, unpacking her lunch, feeling the weight of stares and whispers. "Is this seat taken?" Sophia looked up to see a lanky Asian-American boy with kind eyes and a camera hanging around his neck. "Apparently not," she replied with a small smile. "I'm Devin Chun." Devin Chun. He sat down, slightly awkward. "You're Sophia, right? From Chicago?" News travels fast. Small school, new face. Especially when you stand up to Bennett. Not many do that. "I wasn't trying to stand up to anyone. Just participating." Devin smiled. "Same difference around here." As they talked, Sophia noticed Brielle and her friends watching from across the cafeteria. When they realized she'd noticed, they didn't look away. Instead, Brielle whispered something that made the others laugh. "Don't mind the royalty," Devin said, following her gaze. "Brielle Whitman and her court. Their families basically fund half the school. Her dad's the mayor, her mom's on the school board. And let me guess, they run this place? More like they own it. Been that way since freshman year." The warning bell rang. As Sophia gathered her things, she accidentally bumped into a passing student, causing her water bottle to spill. "I'm so sorry," Sophia began, but stopped when she saw who it was. "Brielle. Watch where you're going." Brielle snapped, though the collision had been minor. "These shoes cost more than your entire outfit." Before Sophia could respond, Brielle's friend Wesley chimed in. "Maybe they don't have manners where she's from." Sophia took a deep breath. "I apologized for an accident. Where I'm from, that's enough." Brielle stepped closer, her voice low. "Let me give you some advice. You're not in Chicago anymore. Nobody here is impressed by your attitude or your little history facts. Know your place, and we'll all get along fine." As they walked away, Sophia noticed Devin had captured the entire exchange on his camera. "For the school paper," he explained, then hesitated. "They won't let me publish anything like this, but documentation matters, right?" Sophia nodded, an idea beginning to form. "Right. Documentation matters." That afternoon, Sophia called her grandmother, Nana Pearl, who lived in a nearby town. The familiar voice was an instant comfort. "How was your first day, baby girl?" "It was educational," Sophia replied carefully. Nana Pearl chuckled. "Which means it was rough. Want to talk about it?" Sophia described her day, the subtle hostility, the cliques, Mr. Bennett's dismissiveness, and Brielle's warning. Nana Pearl mused. "Sounds like not much has changed since my day. Different words maybe, more subtle perhaps, but same song. What did you do back then, when they made it clear you weren't welcome?" "Well, first I cried. Then I got angry. Then I got smart." Nana Pearl's voice grew thoughtful. "Your grandfather always told me something about chess that stuck. He said, 'Pearl, when they come at you direct, don't meet force with force. Find the angles. See the whole board.' Dad used to say something similar," Sophia said softly. "Of course he did. He learned from his daddy." Nana Pearl paused. "These children, these teachers, they're expecting you to either fade away or blow up. Either way, they win. So what's the third option? Sophia thought about this. Change the game. Exactly. Now, I'm not saying it'll be easy. Standing out already makes you a target. But hiding your light isn't the answer either. After the call, Sophia pulled out her father's chess set. She ran her fingers over the pieces, remembering his lessons. How he'd taught her that chess wasn't just about capturing the opponent's king. It was about understanding people, anticipating moves, creating positions where your opponent had no good options. Sometimes you sacrifice a piece to gain position, he told her. But never sacrifice your queen unless it's for checkmate. The queen, the most powerful piece on the board, free to move in any direction, protecting the king while posing the greatest threat. Over the next 2 weeks, the pattern became clear. Brielle and her friends had elevated exclusion to an art form. They never did anything overtly aggressive. It was all whispers just loud enough to be heard. Social media posts that mocked without naming, invitations to parties pointedly given in front of those not invited. In class, whenever Sophia spoke, they would exchange glances or stifle laughs. When she aced her first history test, Mr. Bennett suggested in front of everyone that perhaps the questions had been too simplistic. Most students kept their distance, not wanting to become targets themselves. But a few, like Devin, saw something in Sophia that resonated with their own experiences. There was Lucia Mendez, a freshman of Mexican descent, quiet but brilliant in math. Zeke Powell, one of the few other black students, who recognized Sophia from their mother's friendship at the hospital. Aisha Chaudhry, whose hijab made her just as visibly other as Sophia's skin and hair. They began sitting together at lunch, a small island in the social geography of Fairfield High. And slowly, Sophia began to see the bigger picture. It wasn't just her. Brielle's influence affected dozens of students who didn't fit the narrow mold of Fairfield's elite. It came to a head at the fall academic showcase, where students presented projects to parents and community members. Sophia had prepared a presentation on unsung heroes of American innovation, focusing on black inventors often excluded from history books. Minutes before her presentation, she discovered her carefully prepared note cards had been replaced. The new ones contained stereotypical slang and factual errors that would have made her look foolish and unprepared. Fortunately, she'd memorized her presentation and didn't need the cards. She delivered it flawlessly, earning genuine admiration from the visiting parents and college representatives. From the back of the room, she caught Brielle's frustrated glare. After the showcase, in the empty hallway, Sophia confronted Brielle directly. "I know you switched my notes," she said calmly. Brielle feigned innocence. "I have no idea what you're talking about. You wanted me to embarrass myself, to reinforce whatever stereotype you have about students like me." "Students like you?" Brielle's eyes narrowed. "You mean scholarship cases who think they're special? I'm not on scholarship. My mother is the new administrator at Westbrook Memorial. Whatever. You still don't belong here. Because I'm black? Or because I don't bow down to you?" Brielle laughed, but there was a brittleness to it. "God, why does everything have to be about race with you people? This is about attitude. You walked in here acting like you're so smart, challenging teachers, showing off. Participating in class isn't showing off. It is when you're trying to make everyone else look bad." Brielle stepped closer. "You know what your problem is? You don't know your place." The phrase, "know your place," echoed in Sophia's mind, connecting to stories her grandmother had told her about the civil rights era. Some language never changed. "My place," Sophia repeated slowly. "And where exactly is that?" "Wherever I say it is," Brielle replied, her voice low. "This is my school. These are my friends. This is my community. You're just passing through. And while you're here, you play by my rules." As Brielle walked away, Sophia didn't feel anger so much as clarity. This wasn't just about her. This was about power, who had it, who didn't, and what happened when someone challenged the established order. That night, Sophia called Devin. "Remember when you said documentation matters? I need your help." The next day in the library, Devin showed her what he'd been collecting: photos, videos, screenshots of social media posts. Evidence of a pattern that went beyond normal teenage drama. "She's been doing this for years," he explained. These are just from this semester. Sophia scrolled through images of students being subtly excluded, mocked, or undermined. Most disturbing were the altered photos of various students, including one of Sophia with exaggerated features that had been circulating in private chats. Why doesn't anyone report this? To who? Principal Hargrove is terrified of the Whitman family. Half the teachers either don't see it or pretend not to. As they spoke, they noticed Lucia Mendez sitting alone in the corner, her eyes red from crying. Sophia approached her gently. "Lucia, are you okay?" The younger girl looked up, startled. "I'm fine," she said automatically, but her voice cracked. "No, you're not," Sophia said softly, sitting beside her. "What happened?" After some hesitation, Lucia showed them her phone. A fake profile had been created in her name, filled with embarrassing fabricated stories and doctored photos. "My parents saw it," she whispered. "They think they're so ashamed." "It wasn't you," Sophia reassured her. "And we can prove it." "It doesn't matter," Lucia replied, her voice hollow. "Everyone's seen it. And even if we report it, they'll say it's just teen drama," Devin finished. "Or that you should toughen up." Sophia looked between them, something hardening in her resolve. What if we could prove it's more than that? What if we could show a pattern? Over the next few days, Sophia, Devin, and a growing circle of allies gathered evidence. They documented instances of bullying, intimidation, and the school's failure to address it. They found emails where parents had complained, only to be brushed off. They uncovered previous incidents that had been swept under the rug because the perpetrators were from influential families. Most disturbing was what happened with Lucia. During a private conversation, the young girl rolled up her sleeve to reveal faint scars on her wrist. "Last year," she explained quietly, "after they started rumors about me, my cousin found me in time." Sophia felt a cold fury unlike anything she'd experienced before. This wasn't just mean girls being mean. This was systematic destruction of other children's sense of self-worth, enabled by adults who should have protected them. After school, Sophia visited Nana Pearl, bringing the evidence they'd gathered. "I don't know what to do with all this," Sophia admitted. "If we go to the principal, nothing will happen. If we go to the school board, Brielle's mother will shut it down." Nana Pearl examined the materials carefully, her expression grave. "You know, this reminds me of something. Back in 1963, when we were organizing in Birmingham, the police and papers would dismiss individual incidents, say we were exaggerating. So we documented everything. Every water hose, every dog, every arrest. And then we didn't just show it to the authorities who were already ignoring us. You went public," Sophia realized. "We created a moment they couldn't ignore," Nana corrected. "A moment of such clarity that even people who'd been looking away had to see." She handed the papers back to Sophia. "You've got your evidence. Now you need your moment." The opportunity came 2 weeks later with the school's Diversity and Inclusion Assembly, an annual event that Sophia quickly learned was more about appearances than action. Principal Hargrove had asked students to prepare presentations on appreciating differences. Brielle, as student body vice president, would be introducing the speakers. It was meant to be a showcase of Fairfield's supposed commitment to diversity, perfect for college applications and the school's marketing materials. The night before, Sophia gathered her allies in her basement. Devin, Lucia, Zeke, Aisha, and several others who'd experienced Brielle's bullying or witnessed it. "Are we sure about this?" Zeke asked. "This could backfire big time." "It could," Sophia acknowledged. "But doing nothing definitely backfires. It already has." She glanced at Lucia. "I'm not asking anyone to put themselves out there if they're not comfortable. But I am asking, what happens to the next new student if nothing changes?" By morning, they had their plan. The assembly began as expected. Principal Hargrove gave a self-congratulatory speech about Fairfield's commitment to inclusion. Teachers nodded approvingly. Parents took photos for social media. When Brielle took the stage to introduce the student presentations, she was the picture of poise and privilege. "At Fairfield, we believe in creating a welcoming environment for all students," she read from her prepared remarks. "We celebrate our differences and stand against intolerance in all forms." It was at that moment that the screens behind her changed. Instead of the planned slideshow, it displayed a meticulously organized presentation of evidence, screenshots, testimonials, photos, all documenting the reality of life at Fairfield for those who didn't fit in. Brielle's own words appeared on screen. Know your place. You don't belong here. These are my rules. The audience gasped. Principal Hargrove rushed toward the AV booth, but the presentation continued, now showing statistics. Incidents reported versus actions taken. The demographic breakdown of who was targeted and who was protected. Finally, a split screen appeared, Lucia's doctored photos alongside evidence proving they were fake, with a timeline showing the school administration had been informed but taken no action. Sophia stood up from her seat in the middle of the auditorium. All eyes turned to her. This is also Fairfield, she said, her voice clear and steady. This is the reality for many of your students, your children, your classmates. Not just occasional teenage drama, but a systematic culture of exclusion and intimidation that has been allowed to flourish because it serves those in power. Around the auditorium, other students began to stand, not just Sophia's immediate allies, but dozens of others who had suffered in silence. Principal Hargrove finally reached the microphone. This is completely inappropriate. Whoever is responsible for hijacking this assembly will face serious consequences. Like the consequences for those who've been bullying other students? Sophia challenged. Or the consequences for a school that preaches diversity while enabling the powerful to victimize the vulnerable? In the stunned silence that followed, Brielle stared at Sophia with a mixture of shock and something else, perhaps the first glimmer of understanding that her actions had real impact on real people. The aftermath was immediate and far-reaching. Parents demanded answers. The school board called an emergency meeting. Local media picked up the story. Brielle and her friends faced actual consequences for perhaps the first time in their lives. Not expulsion, but mandatory community service and counseling. Principal Hargrove was placed on administrative leave pending an investigation. Most importantly, a task force was formed, including students, parents, and teachers, to address the toxic culture that had been allowed to develop. 3 months later, Sophia sat in the same hallway where our story began, setting up her chessboard. The school was different now. Not perfect, but changing. The invisible walls between groups had begun to crumble. New friendships were forming across previously impenetrable social boundaries. Brielle approached, alone this time. She hesitated, then sat across from Sophia. "Can I play?" she asked, her usual confidence replaced by something more genuine. Sophia studied her for a moment, then gestured to the board. "White moves first." Brielle moved a pawn. "I've been talking to my counselor about everything. About why I felt so threatened by you." And Sophia moved her own pawn. "She says when your entire identity is built on being at the top, anyone who challenges that feels like an existential threat." Brielle moved another piece. "I know that doesn't excuse anything." "No, it doesn't," Sophia agreed. "But understanding is a start." They played in silence for a few minutes. Around them, students passed by, some stopping to watch, others joining friends from groups they wouldn't have mixed with months before. "I never apologized," Brielle said suddenly. "Not really. Not to you or Lucia, or any of the others. I just went through the motions because I had to. And now I'm starting to understand what I did. How it affected people." She looked up from the board. "I'm sorry, Sophia." "Truly." Sophia nodded, accepting the apology without diminishing the harm that had been done. "Check," she said, moving her queen into position. Brielle studied the board, seeing no way out. "I guess you win." "The game isn't over yet," Sophia replied. "There's always another move." After school, Sophia visited Nana Pearl, bringing her homemade cookies and fresh tea. "I hear things are changing at that school of yours," Nana said, pouring the tea. Slowly, Sophia confirmed. "We've started a student coalition against bullying. Even Brielle's involved now." Nana nodded approvingly. "That's how real change happens. Not just pointing out what's wrong, but bringing people along to make it right." She sipped her tea. "Your daddy would be really proud of you." "I was thinking about him," Sophia admitted. "About his chess lessons. He always said the queen was the most powerful piece because she could move in any direction." That's right. But he also said something else, that the most important pieces were the pawns. Because when they reach the other side, they can become anything they choose. Nana Pearl smiled. Sounds like my son. Later that evening, as Sophia helped her mother prepare dinner, Diana studied her daughter's face. You seem different these days, she observed. More settled. Sophia considered this. I think I am. I think I've found my place. And where is that? Diana asked. Sophia smiled, thinking of her new friends, the coalition they'd built, the changes they were creating together. Wherever I choose it to be. We all face moments when we must decide whether to stay silent or speak truth to power. For Sophia Jordan, that choice led to transformation, not just for herself, but for an entire community. By seeing the whole board, by understanding that true strength comes not from dominating others, but from lifting them up, she changed the game entirely. If you've ever stood up against injustice or found the courage to be yourself in a world that wanted you to be something else, share your story in the comments below. Remember, the most powerful move isn't always the loudest or most dramatic. Sometimes it's the strategic one that changes everything that follows. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and join our community of storytellers and truth seekers. Until next time, remember, they may underestimate you, but that's where your power begins.